Good morning. One of the hardest things about the Christian life is that God incessantly works on us. He is always pruning, always purging, bringing circumstances into our lives to shape us. We've talked a lot about that, and we're going to keep talking about it because the text keeps talking about it. So in verse 6 of Jonah 4, the Lord does something that he has done before. You'll remember. He appointed a fish to swallow Jonah. He provided for that fish to spit Jonah out. And now in chapter 4, verse 6, we read, "Now the Lord God appointed," provided. Same language. This time he provided a plant. Scholars think it may have been a castor oil plant. Kind of grows up and could be above him a little bit if he was seated on the ground. God appointed a plant and made it come up over Jonah that it might be a shade over his head to save him from his discomfort. So Jonah was exceedingly glad because of the plant. Now I want you to see what's happening here, and I don't want you to get lost in the English because we have to make a note. There's an irony that the Hebrew is doing that's really important, and that's really where our lesson is this morning. So God provides this plant, and this plant acts as a shade over Jonah's head, and it relieves him of his, and the text in English says his discomfort. Now you'll remember back in verse 1, it says that it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was angry. The word for displeased Jonah is actually a word that is the word ra'ah in Hebrew, and it means evil. It's a way of saying that it was evil to Jonah. God's act of grace was actually seen by Jonah as a kind of moral evil, because Jonah thought that the Ninevites should get justice, and he goes on and says, "This is why I didn't go. This is why I ran. I thought that you would be slow to anger, gracious, merciful." We saw that in verse 2. Now God provides this plant to go up, and it's interesting. It says that it went up and it saved him from his, and the word for discomfort is the same word. It saved him from his ra'ah, his evil. So the word evil and ra'ah in Hebrew is elastic. It's that negative thing that happens, right? So displeasing, discomfort, but clearly there's a play. Here Jonah thinks that this plant is going to save him from his discomfort, the thing that's causing him angst right now as he sits out in the sun. And yet God has much bigger goals with the plant. He's not doing this to make Jonah feel better. Ironically, he's doing it to produce conviction in Jonah. He's doing it to bring to the surface Jonah's evil. So the irony is this: what Jonah thinks is going to relieve him of his discomfort is intended to show his petulant evil. The text goes on in verse 7. But when dawn came up the next day, God provides a worm that attacked the plant so that it withered. God is so interested in your character. He is so committed to purging and pruning that he will labor through circumstances, and he will weigh on you with difficulty. He will press upon you, and he will utilize circumstantial dynamics as teaching methods to expose your real heart. This is why you can always ask in every circumstance, God, what is it you have for me? And you may say, Bryan, this feels like an old lesson. You've been beating this one down. Yes, because we need to hear again and again that every day is filled with stuff and junk that comes via the sovereign hand of God, so that we can see our own hearts in our responses. Do you have the courage to look? Do you have the courage to see your own heart in response to the circumstance of today. God may provide something. He may take it away to teach, to burrow deep. There's one thing you can't get away from in the book of Jonah, and that is God's passion for Jonah. Because when I read it, I think, why didn't he just give up on him? Because God will relentlessly and even condescend to the petulant state, the immature, childish state of this man, to teach him how silly he is, that he would feel wonderful over a plant while people are dying. So God sends a plant. God sends a worm, hoping to root out his evil. What might God be doing to root out things in your life today?